Hello everyone, today we're doing a yarn review. I absolutely love discovering new yarns. There are many companies I know have tried their yarn maybe before, but some of them I've tried one yarn from them before, but not all their lineup. Today we are reviewing Holstgarn. If you haven't heard about Holstgarn, it is a company in Denmark that makes a lot of beautiful yarns in beautiful colors, and it's been quite known recently for their range that's called Supersoft. Supersoft is a 100% wool. It is a 50% blend of merino and 50% Shetland that comes from New Zealand and Australia. And we've seen a lot of people knitting with Holst Garn Supersoft because it has a very wide range of color and it can come in cones, which makes it really nice to purchase because then you don't have a lot of ends to weave in. So I have knitted with Holst Garn Supersoft before, and I was very excited when Holst Garn agreed to send me yarn from their other lines because I wanted to try it and let you know how I felt about it. So I received this package. It's adorable. So they asked me if I had a certain project in mind or if I just wanted colors that would, work well together. I answered saying that I really love bright colors and I'm happy to just, have a selection that they make for me. And I received this really cute package. Look at this. They also sent me all of their color charts, which I absolutely love. I feel like a home decor person with all of these color swatches. Claudia from the future here to tell you that Holstgarn was super nice to give you a 10% discount code for the month of June only. So if you want to purchase any Holstgarn, you're going to get 10% discount with this link or code, and that will give me also a 10% kickback. It is an affiliate link. So I thank you very much if you want to shop through my link. Let's get back to my rambling. What I'm gonna do for you today is that I'm gonna take all these yarns and make swatches according to the gauges that they recommend, and I will let you know how I like working with them, how they change with wash, etc. And I will also combine them to make, blends, because we all love a good fingering weight yarn plus a mohair or an alpaca, fluffy alpaca. I'll show you quickly what I have. The most well-known yarn here is in this lineup is the Holst Supersoft. So this is on top the color magenta, and at the bottom the colorway is poppy. And as I was saying, it is 100% untreated wool. It is 50 grams per ball. So you can choose to purchase a 50-gram ball or a 500-gram cone, which is very nice when you're doing color work for the 50-gram balls, or if you're doing bigger projects like sweater with 500-gram cones. That being said, if I'm working single-stranded, one cone for me is way too much. I've purchased cones before and I have not seen the end of it yet. The Holstgarn Supersoft, I know before I even start working with it, it changes a lot with wash. So you cannot swatch Supersoft and not wash it and think that it's gonna look the way it looks once you're done. It blooms beautifully with washing. The needle size recommended is 3 to 3.5 millimeter for a 25 stitch gauge. So it's quite a light fingering weight yarn. So I will swatch with the 3.5 millimeter. It is also a lineup that has so many colors. Let me go pull up my little swatch board here. So this is the range of color in Supersoft. We've got all the browns and, yellow oranges. We've got some gorgeous greens and khakis and bluish turquoise. We have a lot of blues. There's a lot of blues in the lineup, purplish blue, and then we've got the purple and the pinks. So I will go check out how many colors exactly are on the website, but you get a ton. And that means that you can do a lot of Shetland style sweaters. I do believe that was their goal with this lineup. Then the other line that has the same amount of colorways and a similar size and feel is Coast. Coast is, you know, looks quite similar to Holstgarn Supersoft in its size, but Coast is a 50%, 55% lamb's wool and 45% cotton. And it does have the woolly feel as well as the cotton feel. I can feel both fibers in this. I have knitted with this before as well. This is the color Cherry. Gorgeous. So you could use Coast for anything that is summer stuff. Obviously, it will have less elasticity than Supersoft, but it will be less warm. You could also combine them together to get the cooling effect. Cooling, I wouldn't call it cooling, but the cooler fabric with Coast, but still have more wool into it. You could absolutely, whoops, you can absolutely combine the two. Similar as Supersoft, it is a 2.5 to 3 millimeter needle recommended at a 26 stitch gauge. So a little bit smaller. I will probably use the 3 millimeters for this one to show you the difference. And that one also has an amazing color lineup. As I'm pretty sure it's similar colors than the Supersoft, all the blues, all the yellow and greens and khakis and turquoise, some purples and grays and black, and some pinks and orangey and browns. Then similar, again in a 50-gram ball, we have Tides. Tides is a silk blend. You can see the little nubs of silk in this wool. This is the Mandarin colorway. It is 70% wool and 30% silk, and the silk gives it the little tweedy feel, and it feels to me silk like this. There's different types of silk. This is not a shiny silk. This is a very tweedy, and silk feels very planty in this type of yarn. And that one, they tell you to use 3 to 3.5 millimeters for a 25 stitch gauge, which would then be exactly like Supersoft. It's the same recommendation as Supersoft and the same yardage. So these two technically are very, very similar in the gauge. These are the two color swatches I got. So we've got some browns and beige and oranges, reds and greens, and some blues, purples, and grays here. Let's go to fluffy yarn because we love it and it feels heavenly in my hands. This is Lucia. Lucia is this fluffy, gorgeous baby alpaca, 42% baby alpaca, 35% mulberry silk, and 13% fine merino wool, 10% yak. So alpaca, silk, merino, yak. It is very, very soft and feels a little bit denser than mohair silk because of the alpaca, and looks a little bit more matte than a mohair silk, again because of the alpaca, which is a bit more matte. These colors are this is lava, and this is papaya. Obviously, papaya and lava, love it together. This is what they call their alternative to silk mohair. Like I said, feels very similar in the vibes. It is available in 25-gram balls, and the yardage is 200 meter for 50-gram ball, so a 25-gram ball, so similar in yardage to a mohair silk. It is definitely a lace weight yarn. Their knitting gauge, they're saying if you want to use just one strand of this, use 3 to 3.5 millimeter needles for 23 stitches. You can use 2 strands with 4 to 4.5 millimeter needles to get you more of a 20 stitch gauge and a thicker, denser fabric. When you use one of this combined with any other yarns, like Coast or Supersoft, they say you should use a 3.5 millimeter needle to knit those two things together. So I will do the test for you. I will knit one strand, double strand, and with something else to see the difference. And what's really fun about this is, yes, I personally have this color card. There's a lot less colors in Lucia. Like you can tell, this is the one color card that I have for this yarn. But on the website, if you go down on their yarn page, they will tell you perfect matches for Lucia with Coast, with Supersoft, with Tides, and with the other two that I'm going to talk soon, Haya and Titicaca. So you get their perfect matches. Obviously, you can plug and play yourself, but because you don't have all those color cards like I do, they give you options. Like this is papaya. They tell me that I could use saffron for a color match, and saffron is this one in Coast, which is pretty close. Obviously, underneath is this one is gonna look good too, and this one is gonna look. But if you want a closer, like tone on tone color, this is what they recommend, and they're recommending burnt oranges for super soft here. So let's see, burnt orange for super soft, which is not this one, but this one, right? Looking good, but obviously it's gonna look good with all of this. But burnt orange is the match. And then mandarin in Tide. So I'll try that for you, etc. So I really love that they're giving you those options on the website so you can shop knowing what fits best together. We are back. We had a little change of clothing, etc. because we're on another day. My camera battery died. I had to do some things in the afternoon, but we're back. So the next one is Haya. Haya is this gorgeous, this one is in a donut, similar to obviously the mohair substitute, so the alpaca. And this one is shiny. It is a 50-gram ball with 70% baby alpaca and 20% mulberry silk, 10% yak. This one is slick. I can tell that it's going to be super duper soft, but also very slippery to work with. It's probably going to look amazing with that, but it's going to mattify it a little bit. This one, they recommend to knit it with the same, I don't think on this ball band they mention anything about, interesting. I don't think these ball bands have any information on which needles to use. So on their website, it says that one thread on needles 3 to 3.5 millimeter for 28 stitches per 4 inches, and then 2 threads with needle 4 to 4.5 millimeter for 20 stitch. It says one thread Haya together with a thread of Titicaca, which I haven't talked about yet, will give you 22 stitches with needles 4 to 4.5 millimeter. What else was I going to say? Yeah, this is going to give you something very drapey, I believe. So I'll swatch it and get back to you. This shade is Foxtail, and the Haya, yeah, that's the only one I have for Haya. So this is the shade range for Haya. So it's a little bit more muted in general. Probably the yak is doing that because yak is dark, so it mutes the colors. And you have a lot of grays, greens, blues, and on the other side here some pinks, purples, and brown orange. Then second to last, we have Titicaca. which looks like this. Those are the punchy colors. I'm pretty sure they're very similar colors to the two colors of Supersoft they sent me, which would make sense because then you can hold them together. Smart. These are 100% pure thin alpaca. So this is absolutely a lace weight yarn. Again, super duper soft. 100% alpaca, you know, you're gonna get really soft. And it's 50 grams for 400 meters. So with one yarn ball with 50 grams, you can do quite a lot of knitting. One thread with 2.5 to 3 millimeter needles, and you'll get approximately 25 stitches. And you can knit two threads at with a 3.5 to 4 millimeter needle, which is going to give you 23 stitches. And then again, it will tell you what to use when you want to hold it with a different base. We have quite an extensive color lineup. I absolutely love it. There is a lot more colors than the previous alpaca, which was the Haya. So lots of blues, some greens, grays, and lots of purple, pink, oranges, and browns, fuchsia, etc. So this is the color palette right here. Last but not least, that one is the most different than every other yarn that I've received because that one is an Aran weight yarn, and this is Cielo. There you go. Cielo is 42% alpaca, 42% merino wool, fine merino wool, and 16% polyamide. I do believe that it is a, I was going to say it is a knitted yarn, but I don't exactly know what type of yarn it is. It's an I-cord. Okay, so it's, yeah, I would think that the I-cord is made with the polyamide, and then, no, the I-cord is the entire thing. Very interesting. It has a very dark core, and I don't know if all the colors have this dark core, but the dark core would be the polyamide, and then the orangey is the merino and alpaca. So that one is an Aran weight. That color is rust, and it is 50 grams again. And this one is recommended to knit on 6 millimeter needle or 8 millimeter. Like, it tells you all the different gauges, which is something that a lot of bigger websites should start doing, I believe. So instead of telling you you should knit it with this needle or you should obtain this gauge, it is a range. So it says one thread with 6 millimeter is approximately 18 stitches. One thread with 8 millimeter is approximately 14. And one thread with a 10 millimeter is approximately 12 stitches. And then two threads with a 12 millimeter is approximately 10 stitches. It gives you a lot more options to work with this yarn. This is so much fun. This looks like a plushie. Like, it makes me want to just make fringes on everything. This is the color palette for the Cielo. So a little bit of cool tones here and then warm tones on the other side. I'm gonna go, and I have a lot of work to do in order to swatch all of these, but the colors are so inspiring, and it makes me think that I could absolutely take all of these and make a big project combining all of them together. All right, so I've been knitting away. Like, I've used most of these yarns, all of these yarns, single threaded, and then I held them double. I mixed and matched them. I held them double with fluffy. The only one I haven't swatched yet is the big one because it's kind of the odd one out. Everything else is like fingering weight or lace weight. But I must say that, like, it's so interesting to me because I thought, oh, I'll do all the combinations, but I don't think I can. Like, I've hit my limit of swatching. These are all the yarns single thread. these are a lot of the yarns doubled. So I also doubled like different ones. Like this is two Coast, two Haya, and this is Coast and Haya together. But like I didn't do Haya with Supersoft because at some point there's too much. And I did a lot of swatching with the Lucia, which is the fluffy one. So I did the fluffy one with a few different bases. As you can see, there's just so many options. So now I'm going to swatch single strand this one. I just want to see how it feels because I'm all swatched out, guys. But I have to tell you, I am super impressed. And one thing that I didn't think when I opened the package is how amazing commercially produced yarns are, for the fact that I don't have to wind anything, because nothing comes in hanks, so I don't have to wind into a ball. Everything's already a ball. And my dog wants to say hi. Say hi, Jefferson. You want to say hi? Hello. Okay, get off now. Okay, so before I block them, this, Supersoft is feeling quite not soft, a little bit crunchy. Supersoft and Tide is a little bit more, it's difficult. I don't understand how to explain what I feel when I touch Tide. If you've touched some, this type of silk before, it feels matte. It feels, tell me a word if you've worked with it before. This is Tide and Coast, which Coast has cotton, so it's more plenty. So this definitely feels like cotton more. It's a woolen cotton, and it's a little bit more drapey as this one and the other ones before. Tide is thicker a bit. Coast is definitely the lightest, I feel, of all of them, even though Supersoft might be more see-through. Coast feels lighter. And then this is Coast and Haya, which Haya gives softness to everything. It is really soft and drapey and shiny. All the other ones have almost zero shine to them, whereas Haya is absolutely shiny. And all of those right now are doubled. And Haya feels thicker also than others. Thicker, and maybe Tide feels thicker as well. So after washing, I'm curious. Then I also have my one strand. So you can see how Supersoft is really see-through as one strand, but I know for a fact that it's gonna bloom. I can't wait to show you. Then Tide is a little bit less see-through than Supersoft. Then Coast, which also is lighter, feels more drapey. And also I believe that Coast recommends a needle size, one size smaller, which I did. Then this is Lucia, which is definitely thicker than a lace weight mohair. I was surprised when I knit with it. It is quite thick. I would consider this a fingering weight and not a lace weight. And then Haya is gorgeous in one strand already. So soft. And our little lace weight Titicaca. So Titicaca is definitely smaller than Lucia. So this is a true lace weight yarn. And I can't wait to see how it behaves once blocked. As you can see, this is very not, the stockinette stitch is not very equal, whereas Haya is a lot more equal. Lucia, obviously. And I would say that probably Titicaca and Supersoft are the most difficult to keep a good tension when they're not washed. It is now drying, and I just laid it flat to dry. The water was a little bit pink, which I'm not surprised because very pigmented reds and purples have a tendency to lose a little bit of color in the water, but very excited to talk to you about it tomorrow. Welcome back to my room. My swatches are dried and I'm really had a fun time working on this video, working on all these swatches. So let me show you the state of them once dried. Obviously, there's not much you can see that I wish you could feel. That's what I mean. I wish you could feel the difference, because Holst Garn is definitely one of those yarns that you have to wash in order to feel the beauty of the yarn. So like I said, I put it in hot water, soap, let it lay flat to dry, and this is the single strand swatch. So again, Supersoft, which definitely blooms, like you can see through it. You can see my lips a little bit, but the tension is so much more even now that it's been washed, and it's a little bit fuller. Then, and I use the thickest, the biggest needle recommended on their website. Then this is the Tide, which feels better to me once it's been washed. So I've talked about how the silk feeling for me, like that nubby matte silk, is, I would call it an acquired taste. I don't know. Some people probably love it. It's not a love story. I love the look of it. The feel of it is not my favorite, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Then Coast, which is the cotton and 50% cotton, 50% wool, which also softens up beautifully. Lucia, which again, like you can tell, this is quite thick. Like this is one strand and I barely can see through it. It's definitely thicker than your silk mohair, and even thicker than most alpaca, like baby Surrey alpaca that I've worked with. This is a Haya, which has the most amazing drape. Obviously, they're all together, so you can't feel the drape, but it is the drapiest, silkiest in a very like soft, silky in the sense that you can see the sheen, the shine. That's what I mean by silky, and it's smooth. Plus the alpaca, because it is, let me tell you the percentages again, because I need to remind myself. Haya is 70% baby alpaca, 20% mulberry silk, and 10% yak. And so the yak is also giving it a lot of softness. And then our little Titicaca sample, which also got much more even after a good soak. And I feel like this is so amazing. I've been while I was knitting all those swatches, I was thinking, I can't let all of this beautiful yarn go to waste, but I don't have much of each. I have one ball of bunch of different things. So I was thinking, as I was knitting the samples, what I would make with them with only one ball of each. And I think that the two Titicaca skeins will be knit into my knitting machine. I think I'm just gonna do a stripy, very long and wide stockinette stitch stole. So basically I'm gonna knit the longest possible wide rectangle, as long as I can, striping it together until I run out, and just kind of wrap this around me. And I think it's gonna be the most beautiful thing ever, because it is lace weight. Knitting that by hand would be quite long, but if I put it on my knitting machine, it's going to be amazing, I think. So that's what this is going to become, I believe. That being said, all of those look gorgeous together. I could make a beautiful scarf with this. As you can tell, maybe or maybe not, Coast is definitely thinner than the others. Lucia gave me a thicker or a wider gauge, and Haya also gave me a bit of a wider gauge. So Coast is the smallest of the fingering weight ones. I really love how much you can play with texture with Holst Garn, because of all their different light fingering to fingering weight bases, mix and matching them. this is not even all of the mix and matching you can do with all of their bases. So really, if you're a fan of silk, but you'd like a little bit more structure, then you get one strand of Supersoft and one strand of the Tides. If you are a fan of softness, then you get, you know, a strand of Haya and a strand of Lucia. And if you're you want a lot of structure, then you get two strands of Supersoft. You can get so many different combos for the same gauge, which is something that sometimes with companies, like they'll have one fingering weight wool yarn, and then they'll have one DK weight wool yarn, and then they'll have, you know, an Aran, they'll have a few, like, but they'll have kind of a widespread of gauges, but not a widespread of fibers. Whereas with Holst Garn, I love this. I think that having a whole lot of lace, light fingering or fingering weight yarns and the ability for you to match them up as you wish is so smart. So I encourage you to try to, if you're gonna knit something at a thicker gauge, a bit thicker, you can double obviously Holst Garn, but instead of doubling only Supersoft, try holding Supersoft with something else to try and get the different texture. Really, that is a whole lot of fun. Then obviously the fluffy yarn. So this one, as you can tell, is very not see-through. The only ones that are a little bit more see-through are here because I doubled Titicaca on itself, which creates luscious fingering weight yarn. The two strands of alpaca held together is just gorgeous. And then this is Titicaca and Coast, which surprised me because Titicaca is the alpaca. It gives a little bit of fluff. It gives a lot of softness. And then the cotton merino, or the cotton and wool, is a little bit more structured, and I really love the result. And I've seen a lot of people use this combo for this combo, or also the Coast and Lucia for sweaters that are one strand fingering plus one strand of fluffy yarn. All of these are really nice to play with. The two strands of Lucia is so thick and fluffy. Like this one here is two strands of the fluffy yarn, and it is very thick, very smushy. Everybody would want to wrap themselves in that. And this is the Tides, so the silk that I did not love the texture of under the Lucia, which isn't interesting because you can't feel the silk as much. And then this is alpaca on alpaca, which is, again, all of these are great options in my opinion. And then one that surprised me because I didn't even know they made this yarn, obviously, is the Cielo. And it was a joy to knit with. It was really easy. It didn't split. Like sometimes these yarns that have a very funky, it's not boucle, it's literally just a knit tube. Sometimes they're a little bit tricky to knit with, but this one has plenty of elasticity compared to others that I've worked with, which means that you could absolutely knit any kind of sweater that has ribbing. I've seen a lot of people knit, you know, sweaters like the Novice sweater, I believe, by Petite Knit, the Felix pullover. I pulled it out somewhere. The Badger and Bloom by Anne Vencel, and the sweater number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And the beauty is that Holst Garn has so many beautiful colors. I have to say that I was 100% satisfied. Receiving those little 50-gram skeins is also amazing because, you know, if you have a sweater where you need 340 grams of yarn, then you don't have to buy 400 grams, because a lot of brands only do 100-gram balls. But because you get 50-gram balls, then you can really be a bit more precise and not have that much left over. It's also great if you want to do color work, obviously. And then if you're planning on knitting a big item, then their 500-gram cones make a lot of sense. Thank you so much to Holst Garn for sending me all that yarn. They were a joy to work with, and I will make sure to update you on what I use these for, because I hope they don't, you know, stay in my in my wardrobe forever. You could absolutely knit things like gorgeous West knits shawl if you were to run across having just a bunch of different yarns that don't necessarily go together. I think a West knit would be an amazing way to dig into your stash and have fun, right? Why not? I just put that there. It was not my intent to talk about it, but I saw it and I was like, wait a second, that'd be fun. So hopefully you guys learned a little something today about these yarns. Put in the comments if you've worked with them. What have you made? What are your conclusions? If you like this kind of video, you want me to make more reviews for big yarn companies. If you appreciated all the time I put into making this video, you can hit the subscribe button. It does help me a lot. Or simply put a little thumbs up. Go check out my other videos here where I talk about a bunch of different things, and I will see you next time. Bye.